Hello folks, I am John Najarian. It is my pleasure to bring the Chairman and CEO of Recruiter.com, one of the hottest sectors. And Evan, great to have you here at the NASDAQ.
Oh, thanks so much, John, for having me here.
When I say one of the hottest sectors, it truly is. I mean, in the old days, everybody wanted to be an engineer. Old days being like maybe 5 years ago. Everybody wanted to be an engineer because then Google or Amazon would hire you. Now, with the Great Resignation and these 4 million people that resigned or left their jobs in April of 2021, recruiting becomes the hottest sector in the markets. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We reported in the September Recruiter Index. So we have a Recruiter Index where we survey our recruiters, and we'll talk about the platform, et cetera, to give us sort of the sentiment and where things are heading in the industry. And recruiting is actually went up by 10%. So there are actually, last time I checked, more open roles for recruiters and talent acquisition professionals in the US than for software engineers. And that just really indicates the overall demand for candidates. And I think that what we're really seeing here now is this insatiable appetite for talented professionals and non-talented professionals, highly skilled labor and non-highly skilled labor.
Right. I mean, some of these jobs reports really point to exactly what you're talking about as far as, and I think people have a misconception. When you hear a jobs report, like perhaps a jobs report that's 194,000 jobs and it missed dramatically from what people expected. It wasn't really just 194,000 jobs created in the whole of this United States. It was a lot more than that, right?
Right. So you hit the nail on the head. And we track this. We started tracking, and let's look at new jobs or net new jobs versus backfill. So backfill is when someone leaves, you have to backfill that role.
And then if it's just one-to-one, it's a net of zero.
It's a net of zero. So when we see a number like the misses of the last few months, millions of people were hired. Right? There were millions of people hired over the last 3 months. And in the US, there's always been a voluntary churn. So every industry has its own churn. The financial industry, it's about 16%. Why people are coming and going, coming and going. And what we're really seeing now is that that growth of the people leaving is really affecting the ability to hire new people. Just the other day, we were on the phone with one of our clients, and they are losing more people a month than they're hiring. Crazy. That's and this is a very sizable company. And keeping up with those numbers, because if we're going to impact the job market in the US, we're going to have to see those numbers really significantly increase. And even though they were predicting, I think September's number, they were predicting like 500,000, that's not enough. Right? There are 9 million people out of work here in the US. I think the underemployment number is even higher. Been a lot of shifting over to the gig economy, lots of things being underrepresented in those numbers. And if we're going to impact the US economy, we got to get those numbers up.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons maybe that it's so tough to get people back to work is a Gallup poll was saying that people are stressed, they're not happy. Some of the issues that they face as far as being forced back to work and things like that are causing them to say, do I really want to stay in this job? Is that what's behind some of that great resignation?
I would say and both, right? We're not in an either or world, it's and both. So let's look at why is there a great resignation. So first off, every candidate in the US is more valuable today than they were 2 years ago. I don't care whether you're a Java developer or a blockchain developer or a factory worker willing to work in person in a factory. Everyone is more valuable today than they were a year ago and 2 years ago. And if you combine that with this all of a sudden desire for a work-life balance, and in our index, and I hate to keep going back to it, but the data has been so incredibly helpful in terms of seeing where the hockey puck is going, that we started to see, in terms of candidate priorities, you would think money, right? I grew up where how much are you paying? What's the salary, et cetera?
That'd be me.
And my dad never once asked me, hey, what's your work-life balance going to be like, right? Yeah. Are they giving you an exciting experience? Reality from this past index was only 31% of the candidates prioritized compensation. So 69% of candidates were prioritizing non-tangibles, work-life balance, remote work, and a new experience. So if you take that and you say, gee, I want a new experience, maybe now's the right time to do it. Why? Well, my company's making me go back. I don't want to go back full time. I moved to Florida from New York. I don't want to go back to New York. I want to stay in Florida. I've always thought about working for a company over there, and now I could do that because I could work from anywhere. So working from anywhere has really allowed everybody to no longer, remember that job that you almost looked at, but it was just geographically undesirable? For the right talented person, and not obviously the in-person jobs, that just doesn't exist anymore. One other thing, and I think it's a really incredible dynamic, is the ability to look for opportunities now is even easier. So here I have this desire, my company might want me back, maybe I don't want to go back full time, I want a different experience, and interviewing. Think about what interviewing looked like 5 years ago or even 2 years ago.
Right.
Right? You brought a suit into work because you were told you got to wear a suit. And everyone goes, what's with the suit? Oh, I got my aunt's sister's funeral. I got some excuse I got to go to.
How many times did she pass?
Right, she passed away. Every 3 years she passed away. And you got to be out for the afternoon. And then the next day you're getting a phone call and you're taking it outside. Oh, my mom's very upset about the funeral. You've got to tie the story together. Interviewing was a whole cloak and dagger that you actually heard people say the words, interviewing is a full-time job. Right? You actually had people saying, look, I'm going to leave this company to go find a new job because interviewing is a full-time job. Right? Because that process is tedious. Interviewing today is on a video screen. Right? Who doesn't have 15 minutes now to go look at an opportunity? Right. So if the opportunities are now not geographically limited for the right skill set, I can interview anytime I want, any time of day. I have more hours to be more productive. I can use those either for helping my own company or helping myself. And now I have this new priority that's not about compensation, it's about experiences. And I think that that's really driving a lot of this great resignation.
And if you're a company, for instance, in New York, where, as you say, cost of living, taxes are both pretty high. In fact, probably the highest in the country. Maybe San Francisco or Los Angeles can rival it as far as costs of living and taxes, but that candidate could live anywhere. That candidate could, if they're a remote potential worker, could be in Buffalo, New York.
That's right.
Or could be in Austin, Texas, and still fulfill the job out in Silicon Valley because, and you might not have to pay the same that you'd have to pay to get them to come to California because of that 12 or 14% differential in taxes.
I completely agree. And look, you're seeing more companies. Pricewaterhouse announced that they're fully remote, and Salesforce now says you can work from anywhere, and Spotify, I think, said you can work from anywhere. Yet in New York, there's some companies that are saying thou shalt only come into office and mandating that. And I think the reality is companies are getting to define their own company culture. And by the way, we live in a capitalist society. Let a company decide, hey, look, it's important for us to have in-person mentoring and learning to ensure the continuity of our company. And maybe a hot startup says, look, I just need the talent. I don't care where you work. So it really depends. But I think what we're really talking about here, John, is the optionality is really on the candidate side. The talented candidate, and again, if everyone's more talented, right, that means everybody now has just more options.
And in the old days, you probably stuck with a job significantly longer than you're sticking with it now. I think one of the quotes that I've heard from you that I love is the job hopper economy now, because maybe 2 years is as long as I want to be at some place, because I can then hop to the next one and get that pay increase again and maybe have those life experiences that you talk about, because maybe they'll let me go work in Hong Kong or Singapore or London. I mean,
yeah, I completely agree with you, and thanks for bringing that up. I think that fundamentally, if you saw and again, I'm exaggerating, but to prove a point, if you saw a resume of a 30-year-old who had been at the same company for 10 years, 2 years ago, and let's forget maybe they're working for Google, whatever company it is, but overwhelmingly, you looked at a resume of a 30-year-old that had been at the same company for 10 years. 2 years ago, you used words like loyal, committed, and steadfast.
Team player.
Team player, rising through the ranks, all those other things that we've seen. Now you look at someone that's been at the same, 2 years later, the same company for 10 years, you're going to say risk averse, stale, not interested in new experiences. Now, it's not about you and me looking at that resume. And let's forget us for a moment, because we could see beyond that resume. We could understand why they might have been at that company for a certain amount of time. But if you're that candidate if you're that 25-year-old or 26-year-old and you'd have been at the same company for 5 years, you have to be saying to yourself, do I want to be here for another 5 years? Now, the reality is that that's already happened out in Silicon Valley, right? If you see someone at a company, at a hot startup that's been there for more than 3 years, they're probably either the co-founder or the company's getting acquired, right? And so there used to be reports of people look at the job openings at different companies to see how close they are to IPOing or getting acquired. You can look at that as a leading indicator. So I think that you're going to start seeing this new population of people saying, I'm here for 3 years, what's next? What's next? And what's funny is, 30 years ago, we looked at that as a job hopper. No one wanted to have on their resume that they were only at a company for 3 years or 4 years. Oh, look at this guy.
Yeah, they're a mercenary.
Oh my God, they've been someplace 4 jobs in 4 years. What, you can't keep a job? You can't hold a job? It just looks terrible. Now you look like, wow, this guy is a star. He went to Google, he went to Facebook, or he went to this startup company, that startup company, that startup company. It's going to be a whole change in mindset, and I think that we're really entering this job hopper economy. And we're advising clients when we talk about musing with them is almost creating an environment that says for certain roles, hey, look, this is a 3-year role. This is a 36-month project. We're going to pay you a lot of money, but I'm going to lock you in for 36 months. Now, when you're a startup, that's kind of what you think about anyway, right? We give you options for 3 years, 4 years. You sort of look at it that way. So I think the job hopper economy is here to stay. I think the new population are looking for, there was some incredible quote, 60% of all millennials were willing to leave their job within the first year. Everything that our dads told us or our parents told us, you got to stay the first year. You got to be there at least 2 years. If you don't like it after 2 years, then look someplace else. It's not going to look good. This new population, and again, I'm exaggerating, but there's a significant segment of that population that says, I'll leave within the first year. 40% said they wouldn't, but 60% are looking to leave. So I think, and what this really points to is, getting back to the recruiter side, is companies need to be thinking about having a constant stream of potential candidates to fill their own workforce.
Right. They need a bigger funnel.
They have to have a bigger funnel. If you think that you only have to hire 30 people a year, double it. You're going to hire 60 people a year. And that's going to change how we look at the way these things happen. It's easier to apply to a job. You should be getting more candidates, but that means that more candidates can leave even faster. So I think that all these variables really moving into it means that you have to have a bigger numerator. You got to be looking at candidates. You probably have to always be looking at candidates, always looking to fill those pipelines of candidates, no matter what you are, whether you're a factory, whether you're a hot tech startup, or whether you're a bank. Always looking at candidates and then having a pool of recruiters available, talent acquisition professionals, to screen through those candidates. I love the talent acquisition professional side of this. And when I look at you guys, Recruiter.com seems a lot like Uber. I mean, you're getting the input from these companies that are looking to hire. You've got these talent acquisition professionals that want to use your pipes. They want to use your system to basically go out there, find the candidates, and put them into these jobs, or at least bring these candidates in front of these employers and so forth. Tell us a little bit about how that works, because your number was staggering. You said there's 850,000 of these professionals in the United States. Yeah, crazy. I love the Uber analogy. So let's play on the Uber analogy and relate it to hiring. So hiring, like getting you from point A to point B, there are two ways for you to get from point A to point B. You either do it yourself or you hire someone to do it for you, right? Uber came along and said, I'm going to make it really easy for you to hire someone, not full time, right? John could have his own driver, but here I'm going to have an Uber driver in whatever car you want to take you whatever destination you want in any location you want. Very, very specified. Sure. And Uber has made that process incredibly simple for you. You could schedule it, you could turn it on, you could turn it off, etc. Hiring, there are only two ways to hire. You either do it yourself or you hire someone to do it for you. So if you're a startup company, the CEO is saying, I'm going to go do it myself, and I'm going to use tools like ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and LinkedIn. Or if I'm going to hire someone, I'm going to use the traditional headhunter, right? And the headhunter got paid 20 to 30% of the salary. Heidrick & Struggles, executive recruiting, and they've played that model where they have retainers and other models, but fundamentally you're paying for the successful placement of that person. But if you have now a startup company and you're looking to hire 16 people within the next 3-4 months, and that's one of our clients now out in Silicon Valley, You don't want to be paying $480,000 of a success fee to a headhunter to find you those people, yet you want a really good quality person. You want to build your team quickly. So you're going to need tools and people to do that, and that's what we provide. At the same time, and what that really means is what that CEO really wants is he wants a recruiter, a fractional recruiter, if you will. I want someone that knows the talent space in the area they're looking to hire. If it's agricultural technology, I want someone in agricultural space, whatever they're looking for, to work for that company for a period of time. And when the project is over, when they got you to your destination, we're done, we're finished. Because recruiting is much more like medicine than it is like a mortgage broker, right? Medicine, you might have a general internist to handle your day-to-day health, but if your eye's bothering you, you're going to go to a retinal specialist. If your foot's bothering you, you're going to go to a podiatrist. You didn't churn those people, right? You hired them for the specific function of the task, and when you were done, you moved on. You didn't pay them only if they cured you, you paid them for their services. That's really what we're reinventing. We have the largest community of recruiters and HR professionals on the planet, over 850,000 in our community. And we deploy that, crazy numbers.
Crazy high.
We have 30,000 plus recruiters actually on our platform, and then we match them through our technology to different assignments. So we have some very large clients. We have Dentsu is one of our clients, one of the largest advertising companies on the planet. They, like everyone else, had a huge hiring spurt that they need to do sort of post-vaccine. And how do they do that? They reduced their in-house talent acquisition team from the pandemic, and now they need to scale very, very quickly. I think that we could talk about some other macro changes, but just like Y2K outsourced lots of IT, and like financial processing got outsourced as well, we really believe that talent acquisition at many levels should be outsourced on an on-demand basis. So this advertising company agency said, hey, look, we need to hire hundreds of people. They tapped into our platform, provided 16 on-demand recruiters, plus project leaders, and our AI software is a huge project, and we actually did for them about 140 hires in 4 months. Now that's incredible, but what's really incredible is that only took 4 months. So from ramp-up time to hiring to pipelining to getting the candidates in their seats was within 4 months, and when the project was over, they scaled it down. Now that's what we all want to do.
Right.
But as a company, we don't want to start building out giant workforces anymore that are non-tangential to our business. We want to focus on what we do best. You talk a lot about supply chains and the problem of supply chains. Talent acquisition, candidate funneling, that's a supply chain. And you want to bring on experts that really know how to do that, and that's really what we're bringing to the market.
Well, folks, I've been talking with Evan Sohn, CEO, Chairman of Recruiter.com. Evan, that's a fantastic growth model that you've created, and I really look forward to having you back and talking about the success that you guys continue to have. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, sir.